Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to UGA Gospel Storm, Who's Who Blog Talk Radio interviews, and I'm your host, Miss Koko Bowden. Now, today I am speaking with three brothers who each helped to write a book called Generation Text. These brothers are natives of the Bahamas and God-fearing men, and I had the pleasure of meeting them in Jacksonville, Florida this past October at the God's Women in Ministry Music Business Conference. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome them to my show, Who's Who Blog Talk Radio interviews. So I'm going to welcome now Leonard, Rodger, and Mario Steele. Let me buzz them in. Okay. Hello, guys.
Hey, Miss Koko, how are you doing?
I am doing good. I see it's two of you on the line. Which two are is it?
This is Rodger's also on the line.
Okay, Rodger and Mario, right?
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
correct.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I am truly excited and humbled to have you guys as my guests today. And as always, before we get down into discussing about the book, I would like for y'all to give a brief introduction of who you are and what it is that you do. And let me see. Rodger, you can go first.
Yes, Coco, again, we are so privileged for you having us on the show on today. And I want to say God bless you and what you do and continue to keep up the great work. Again, like I said, my name is Rodger Steele, and one of the three brothers. We have all come together to just bring some awareness to texting and driving that has been hurting the communities at large and far and at large. And I'm just a helper. I just like to help see the work go forth and help save lives. So that's my position in taking with the whole thing.
Amen. And Rodger, you can go ahead now.
Hi, this is
Okay,
Koko.
Mario.
This is Mario. That was just Rodger talking, but
I'm
Koko,
sorry.
no problem. But hey, Koko, I just wanted to say thank you for all that you do for the elderly, for all the concerts and everything that you do for the community. I just want to thank God for an individual like you that's really, putting the work forth to get people like us on the air to tell of our stories and everything else. But we did meet down in Jacksonville. That was an awesome event that Apostle Beryl had, and it was a pleasure meeting you. And then since then, we've become good friends. So I'm happy just to be on the phone with you. But just to tell you a little bit about myself, like Rodger said, I'm a helper as well. What we're trying to do with this, we've produced some movies with a friend of mine. We've done a lot of concerts and a lot of different things in the gospel industry. But right now, God has placed this burden on our hearts to create such a book for such a time as this. And we are just privileged and honored and humbled that God chose three brothers, from the Bahamas to make this thing happen. And it's so great that this book is now, reaching worldwide mediums. And we thank God for someone like you as well, again, for allowing us to be here today.
Amen. Thank you, brothers. And, the purpose of this interview today is to make people aware of how texting and driving can change lives and how distracted drivers can change lives. And I thought today would be the perfect day to do this interview because of the holidays. As we all know, during this time, especially here at Thanksgiving and Christmas, a lot of people do traveling by car, so we have a lot of people that's going to be on the road, and we need designated texters. So with that being said, whose idea was it to write this book, and what was the inspiration behind it?
Well, the brother Leonard, who was not here, but I does send his greetings, the Lord had visited him while he was in study time, and the Lord had visited him so that we can bring awareness to this. So when he brought the idea to us, of course, Mario and myself, we also prayed along with him. And it was there that God gave the insight to go ahead and attack this area of texting while driving. Now, it is looked at, some people play Russian roulette, and you know how dangerous that is. One bullet inside of a gun, you roll around, and then you just take a chance that bullet might not be the one to kill you. Well, texting and driving is similar. is one text can change your life. One text is like that one bullet that we take our chance with on the street, and we can cause the life even of ourselves or somebody else. So again, 3 years ago, it was just an idea or that God dropped in Leonard's heart, and he gave it to Mario and myself. And 3 years later, it is now in the book form, heading toward the movie theaters on next year.
Awesome, awesome. And to be honest, I watched your promo video on your YouTube page for this book, and it made me think about something. You know, back in the day, everybody was worried about drinking and driving, but now we have a new crisis that is growing called texting and driving. And, Mario, can you please give us some of the research numbers when it comes to texting and driving?
Yeah, and that's so. The verify that you said that, you know, I mean, God had you to say that because drinking and driving is now going to become second to death when you come to distracted drivers. So texting and driving is going to surpass drinking and driving as the number one killer. There are some startling statistics out there. The National Security Council estimates that at least 1.6 million crashes each year involve drivers using cell phones and texting. So this is where this thing is. It has become an epidemic. And what is our kids now doing, our teenagers who don't have it, I mean, who doesn't understand what's going on and think it's all cool to do this type of stuff. There are so many stories that we have gotten, Koko, even through our research, and now people are just reaching out to us with their stories. There was a young man that I spoke with a couple of weeks ago, right here in North Carolina, as a matter of fact. He was driving, and there was this young lady. She had just gotten her license. I think she was like 17 years old. And he said he saw her. He saw her like swerving towards him, and he did everything he could to miss her from hitting her, and he ended up hitting her and killed her. Come to find out, the girl was texting and driving. A young teenage life lost that instant. And what's so sad, and what it is that people don't take notice or take charge of something until it actually happens to them. And that's what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid our mantra, like Rodger said, a generation text. One text can change your life. One text can ruin your life or the life of somebody else. We have so many stories. There was a story out of Chicago where a 71-year-old man was killed from a girl updating her Facebook page. So these are the type of stuff we've come across, and it is imperative. It is imperative that we look at this as an epidemic, because kids, adults, people are dying from this because of distracted drivers.
Now, that is really deep. And, you know, these numbers are very disturbing, and I don't think people realize just how distracting a text can be while driving or updating Facebook, how that 1 second that your eyes is not on that road, it could end in tragedy for someone else or yourself, which leads to my next question. Since it's so dangerous, why do y'all think people still are doing it?
You know, we live in a society, Koko, of people are used to multitasking, and they feel that they can do so many things at the same time, not realizing that 1 or 2 seconds can change one life in an instant. I mean, 1 or 2 seconds, you could travel the length of a football field by the time you look up, raise up your head, and that's how quick an accident can happen. But like I said, I think because we think we can do so much things at the same time, we can almost take on this task of texting while driving, but not taking on the ramifications of how dangerous this one can be. I don't mind you doing 1 or 2 things at home, chewing gum and on the computer and on the cell phone at the same time while you're home, but not on the street. There's a place and a time to do it, but it's not while you're on the street, and that's what I feel. They feel that they can multitask.
I agree. Now, Rodger, do you think that we need tougher texting and driving laws because of the people who are not taking this issue serious?
No doubt. The texting and driving laws is kind of like just a tap on the wrist. I feel if they would, take suspend license, threaten people as far as going to jail, just take it to the next level, I feel people will pay more attention to it. Oftentimes, if it's not happening to me or my family members or my friends, those in authority will not pay attention to it. But until it happens in-house to one of their family members or friends close to them, then they start to pay attention to it. I pray it doesn't have to come down to that, but this is why we are here, trying to get the awareness out there so that people can know we need to take advantage of the opportunity now before it's too late.
And you are exactly right, because even in the associations that I work with, and a lot of people that I work with in cancer patients, heart patients, and stuff like that, a lot of people don't take this stuff serious until it does hit home for them. So I'm glad that are making people aware of what's going on with this texting and driving. So what are some ways to prevent texting and driving, and explain what a designated texter is?
Koko, with my mom, when we were growing up, we're three brothers, and just to have three brothers come together and do this, I think it's amazing by itself, because we're a tight-knit group of boys. There's 7 of us in the family, 4 girls and 3 boys. I was the youngest, so they put me through it, and they roughed me up a little bit, but I love my brothers. But this is what it is, and this is what we were told when we were growing up, and this is the brothers instilled in me as a young one. Prevention is better than cure. So trying to prevent stuff from happening is better than trying to cure it, and that's what we're trying to do. What we're doing right now is preventing it, like you said, using the the designated texter. Like my son, if I'm in the car, the minute the phone rings, my son is 9 years old, and it's in him now that, Daddy, I'm going to answer the phone for you. Daddy, I'm going to text for you. I'm started with him like he doesn't. Anybody who he sees while we're driving, he looks in the car, oh, Daddy, they're texting and driving, This is what we want to do. We need to start the kids from young. Embedded in them now that, hey, when you're able to drive, let them know your life and someone else's life matters. That person's life matters. You don't want to risk killing somebody because you're doing something that's selfish, and that's what it is. Texting while driving is a selfish act. You don't care what you're doing. You don't care who you're going to hurt, and that's what it's all about. We're trying to prevent this. Prevention, again, is better than cure. Our goal is to see that this thing, that our young people, our families, our family members, your family member don't die. And we want to have that designated texter. When the phone rings or a text comes in, they're able to answer a text for you or send a text for you. Why? So you can keep your eye on the road and not have to worry about, hey, let me try and get that text or let me answer that text.
Right. And another thing I think also for the person who is very stubborn and wants to answer every text regardless, people who have that issue should just turn their phone off while they're driving rather than just to keep getting distracted like that. And so let's talk a little on the book now, Generation Text. Now, the main character in this book is a minister by the name of Minister Milton Frazier. But before you give us a summary of what the book is about, I just want to say that I am glad that you did use a minister, because many people think that the texting laws don't apply to them. They think that this accident here cannot happen to them. They think that they're basically invisible to anything, that bad can happen. And by using a minister, since it's such a real good example, it represents everyday life of what the people in ministry actually go through. So you go ahead and give us a description of what the book Generation Text is about.
Okay, Myra's going to give you a description, Koko, but I'd just like to say that we are trying to save the lives on the street, especially for those going on their way to church, so that the ministers can save their lives in the church. And so if I have to be late, I would rather be known as the Rodger Steele that was late instead of the late Rodger Steele. Go ahead, Mario.
That was good. That was good, Rodger.
Yeah.
That was really good. It was. And I had to give you some props on that. But the book is, like Rodger said earlier, Leonard came to us with this idea that what God had placed in his heart, and we just developed this idea. And we had a good friend of ours as well, who actually helped us, put it all together and just help with the writing and the editing and so on and so forth. but what we were able to do, and the reason why we use